Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Double Barrel Gaming Presents Community Spotlight. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, something that started my career many moons ago. Mrs. BoomStick has been in my right ear to bring it back. She really enjoyed the way that I showcased many new and upcoming community members as well as podcasts. And, I thought it'd be a good idea to bring it back. And here we are, folks. The community spotlight has returned, and we're doing it a little bit different. What I'm going to be doing in future casts, including today's, is introducing you to new and upcoming podcasts that need not only more eyes and ears, but we want to introduce them to us, the community. And of course, we are here with the Grumpy Gamers podcast. These guys are hilarious to listen to. They just dropped episode 76, and we'll get where you can get that listen. It was a great listen to. I listened to it this morning while I was in the car and doing some chores around the house. But let's introduce this wonderful panel so you can find out who the Grumpy Gamers are. We'll start off with first Pete. Hey, man, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm Pete. I am, I suppose, loosely the host. And I say that very loosely as that breaks down within about a minute every time.
Well, listen,
you've got to go
Pete,
next.
It's great to have you here. Obviously, yes, you are the host or one of the hosts because you fine chaps do the podcast weekly together. So it's safe to assume that everyone has hosting duties, especially when you take on some massive topics, which we're going to talk about today. Kirk, what's going on, brother? How you feeling? Welcome.
I'm good. A little bit nervous, but it's we're live, aren't we? So this is
we are live, man. Butterfly's gone. Listen, it's okay because
exactly. I'm Kirk. I'm the newest member. I mean, I've known these guys for years now. We'll get into it a bit later on, but I joined about 6-7 months ago now. I think it is. As a full-time position on it. I'd had a few features, and here I am. Why they kept me, I don't know, but
because of your graphic design, Kirk. That's
okay.
Why.
Oh yes,
and only because of that.
It makes sense. Yeah.
Listen, you got to be useful, and they're going to use you for your talents for sure. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, listen, it's perfectly fine because it's funny. I was talking with Colt Eastwood, who I was on his show, and he was on my show on Monday, and the entire day, and I'm closing on 1,000 pieces of content. I think I should hit that by year's end, and by mid-year, I will have crossed 3 million views, which is, again, it's bonkers for a small channel like this. I actually told Colt, I'm like, Colt, I actually have butterflies. And it's like up until the show we got into it, Butterfly is gone. But listen, we're all mates here, and you're just gonna come and hang out. And we're gonna talk gaming, so it's super easy. But Kirk, welcome to the program. Ben, what's going on, brother? I see that bald head of yours, best one in the business. How the heck are you?
Similar hairstyles, and I salute you, man. I salute you.
Yeah, I got a little piece. I got a mohawk going on. It's my midlife crisis.
Oh yeah, no, I see that. No, I've just gone full. I go full Bic, man. That's done. I don't have to think.
We like to think he makes up for it with the beard.
Yeah, no, I have to. I'm trying to go real long with it. So we'll see how that ends up.
Eventually you're going to challenge the Wandering Dutch. He has one of the
best
barbarian beards in the business. Try to say that 3 times quick.
Yeah, so I'm Ben, and Pete's the host on the show generally, but I'm the guy who does the admin in the background, most of it anyway. Well, Kirk does all the marketing stuff and the graphic design and stuff, but I like to think that I'm the guy that bugs everyone.
You definitely. We also do that as well.
Yeah, I'm the guy that just like constantly whipping and saying, "Get on with it."
It's worth noting that the podcast literally wouldn't happen without Ben, as he does all our editing, puts it all together, and obviously corrects the things that we can't correct live. So that's going to be really interesting on this show.
That's an interesting take tonight.
Listen, again, this is it's all about games. You guys seem to be a very tight knit group, especially when you listen to it. You can tell you bounce off of each other, which is very, very interesting, and it's admirable for sure. So. I think people are really going to dig what you guys are putting down. But certainly last and no way least, Eddie, welcome to the program, my friend. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. How you feeling?
I am doing AO fine. Yeah, man. We're just ready to break down some of these topics. And obviously, I had sent, what we were going to talk about. And then on like I've done on many podcasts before, you have to call an audible because things become more relevant as the days. And that's the one thing I've said about this generation that's pretty interesting is how much news there is to talk. Now, normally we get lulls, right? You start the new year, everyone's coming back off their holiday breaks, and it's Microsoft just tells you they're buying Activision Blizzard to start off 2022. It's madness. But
huge.
Listen, it's great to have you guys here. Let me just catch up with some of the super chats that have come in early, and I'm probably going to be often because we have a very generous audience. Drawn TJ drops the first one of the day, and obviously he's a very generous friend of the program. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Afternoon, guys, and Outbreak Podcast." A good friend of mine, Web Dave, drops a $2 super chat and says, "Welcome to Boomstick Land. When does your show air?" Well, you tell people about that. Let's find out about the Grumpy Gamers podcast. We know these are the 4 people that are a part of the show each and every week. What could people look forward to, Pete, when they want to check out your show? Where could they find it?
Of course. Well, I mean, you're not asking the right guy. Ben is the master of this stuff. But we release on Wednesday every week. And it's, available on pretty much every platform as far as I'm aware. Is that right, Ben?
Yeah, so Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere you get your podcasts, you can get us on a Wednesday. We also put it on our YouTube channel. Yeah, we're now on YouTube. We're fledgling YouTube channel, but we do put our podcast on there every week. That's Grumpy Gamers Podcast. That's the channel name. And you can get us on Twitter as well. So, and Kirk posts relentlessly on Twitter. Mostly nonsense, but
I gotta tell you, having people to do the mundane things like the advertising and getting to where people, it is a lot of work, and I say that to say that I do it solely. So to have you guys working together for the betterment of the show is fantastic.
So I used to do it. No. I used to do it, and I was like a robot. I was like a robot when I used to do it, and now it's just like hand it over to Kirk and just get on with it. And I look at some of the stuff he posts, and I'm like, oh my god, that is nonsense. But it's good. Well, whatever.
The funny bit is, it doesn't seem to be that other people react that way.
No, everyone's like, this is great.
Yeah, it's got it down.
I think it's very similar to like, for instance, I hate my own voice. Like I think I have a terrible voice, but some people will be like, oh my god, you sound like the guy from Cake Master or whatever it is, and I'm like, okay, if that's what you equate it to, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna argue? A cake boss, that's what it is. And Emerald, I've been accused of being Emerald. Listen, I wish I had Emerald's money. I'm gonna be honest with you, because I'd be saying "bam" almost every show. But listen, folks, obviously when we get to the outros at the end of the show's going to run 90 minutes. We're going to get an individual conversation on where you can find the show, how often the show drops, what reviews that they do on certain games. I know they just posted one most recently, so we'll get all of that information. But I do want to open up with a little bit of controversy, and this comes the way of a situation that I've seen making the rounds on social media. Now, this is not one of the major topics, but of course, because I like doing public service announcements to make sure that the community is well aware of what is going on. Apparently, there has been a bit of a hubbub, if you will, regarding Xbox Live changing their price scheme. Somehow or another, a story that made or wreaked its ugly head, if you will, last year. As a matter of fact, the story was originally broken on January 21st, 2022. And this is where Microsoft had removed the ability to pay for Xbox Live via the cards. They had removed it from retail. And everyone got up in arms because at that point, Xbox Live Gold would have increased to $120, which is preposterous at best. If you're a part of the unaware, the ability to purchase a year of Xbox Live Gold on the Microsoft Store was removed in 2020. Now, it was removed. So obviously we had the situation happen where they wanted to up the ante with Xbox Live Gold, make it only available at $10 per month for $120 a year. And as podcasters, as gamers, as a community, we all yelled from the rooftops, "Hey, Microsoft, this is wrong." And at 8:52 p.m. on the 22nd of January of last year, it was updated that no changes to Xbox Live Gold pricing. Free-to-play games will be unlocked. Update. That's what it was. Free-to-play games were made free to play. You didn't need Xbox Live Gold, but more importantly, you didn't need to pay $120 for Xbox Live. Now, just so we can bring everybody in the circle, how did this hubbub started? Now, obviously, I have a lot of friends on the interwebs, and one of which is a friend of this show and a fantastic community member, Slow-Mo Backslap. He actually had posted, and he said this: so less than a week after PlayStation reveals their revamp for PlayStation Plus, Xbox quietly removes the annual $60 price for Xbox Live Gold. Interesting. And he continues and says, did they think no one would notice if they didn't announce it? Or is this some kind of error? Either way, we need answers. And friend of this program, Randall Thor 19, obviously the man with a million, actually responded. He said, if I remember correctly, Xbox removed the 12-month option from their store back in 2020. And in 2021, they tried raising the prices while also removing that 12-month card from retail, making Xbox Live Gold effectively $120 per year. People complained and Xbox reversed its course. Did something change? So you're asking, Boom, why are you bringing this up? Because I have about a dozen DMs from people saying, hey, Boom, what's going on? Xbox Live, $120 a year. And that is not, in fact, the case because, like it was explained by Randall Thor, the $60 option for 12 months of Xbox Live Gold has been removed since 2020. This is not new news. It's just they didn't advertise it. Now, just to make sure that I didn't sound like a boob, I went to Best Buy online. I went to GameStop. I went to Walmart. I went to Target. And right now, still to this day, if I wanted to buy Xbox Live Gold for $60, I can. The cards are available at retail. This was not the case back in January of 2021. Those cards were going to be removed, and the $120 a year price point would have come into full effect, where they would be charging you either 1 month or 3 months. And at 3 months cards are $25, which would mean that it would be $100. And obviously the 10-month, the $10 one would be per month. That would be $120. So just to clear up any confusion, Xbox Live Gold is still $60. That has not changed. So I just wanted to kind of bring that up. It's not a major topic of today's conversation. I just wanted to bring it up because, like I said, I am getting DMs. I happen to get, obviously we're doing a show, right? So because, again, I pulled up another one that says, so MS is sneaking the fact that they removed yearly opinions from Xbox Live Gold. And this is the kind of messages that I saw and the kind of messages I was receiving. So with that said, I wanted to kind of just bring everybody up to speed. That is not what is going on. Right now, you can still get your Xbox Live Gold and pay your $60. But I do want to ask the fine chaps of the Grumpy Gamer podcast a simple question, and I'll start first with Pete. Pete, I think that we're at a point that Xbox Live Gold by itself needs to go away. I think that is a fact. I think it's more than a fact than it is an opinion. At this point, either Xbox Live Gold should move away altogether, and they should just rope everybody into Xbox Game Pass and make Game Pass the $10 Game Pass, the quote unquote standard package, because you're going to get all the games. Now, yes, it would increase it to $120. Well, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, because some people actually still play. I mean, pay the $60 just to play online. Maybe this is an opportunity, Pete, for Microsoft to kind of put the feet of Sony to the fire and say, hey, listen, you come over to the Team Green, you can play online for free.
Honestly, For one thing, I got slightly distracted there because the car on screen is driving very much like I do in real life, just crashing through fields.
This is
stuck
me
on
at
a
the
wall
worst.
for a
This car
while.
handles horrendous, by the way.
But honestly, it did just remind me of me in a golf buggy a few years ago. But no, I think you're completely right, to be honest. It's one of those where the more you put into Game Pass, the more successful it's going to be. And it's doing so well already that I don't know about the other guys, but I never even think about Xbox Gold. Like it just doesn't come across to me at all anymore. And even when you messaged us about it earlier, I then had to do a desperate check that this wasn't a transatlantic difference because it's still showing on Argos and a few other places over here. But yeah, I can't see what it offers as a standalone.
First of all, the games that they offer are just abysmal at best.
They're terrible, aren't they?
The games aren't worth it. And when you're actually then just talking about playing online and the cost that they're charging as is, you need to consolidate that into Game Pass because one, it helps Microsoft. Microsoft want to phase people that way anyway.
Yeah.
And I think people who are buying Xbox Gold, Xbox Live, I think a lot of them maybe just, again, this Game Pass not making its way over to in everyone's mind. Like it hasn't, the advertising is all in the gaming community, but those just outside of that, those casuals just outside, that's where they need to hit, and that's where they need to consolidate. And a lot of people that are buying Xbox Live Gold probably don't realize that Xbox Game Pass is only just a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a fact. That, you know what? I'm glad you bring that up, Ben, because that's a fantastic point. One of the things, I mean, Microsoft, and we're going to get into it because we're going to be grading what they've done in this generation at the back end of the show. One of the things that we've seen that has worked to the betterment of their social media presence is whoever's running social media is doing an amazing job, right? We've seen them. They're constantly in the news in one way or another, in a good way, not in a, hey, we hate Microsoft kind of a way. Though one of the areas that I think need significant attention to is whoever is running the awareness factor for Xbox Game Pass, because the normies, right, the casual market, which is the dominant aspect of either of the platforms. The reason why Sony sold 115 million PS4s wasn't for us. We didn't do that. That is the normies. That is the casual. The casual audience. 85% of that those consoles sold came from people who buy 2 games a year.
Yeah.
So those same people, those same gamers, are exactly what Ben is saying. They are the people that, if they really took the time to research it a bit, or kind of be led to, hey, flash this on the screen for them, you can get Xbox Live Gold, but you can also get 400 plus titles for a few pounds or a few dollars more. Ben, please, by all means, continue your point because it's excellent.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. We've mentioned it a lot on our show about the advertising and what Microsoft are doing, and I don't know the answer, but what we're seeing is that, you don't get a lot of TV, you don't get it in between football games, you don't get Xbox Game Pass needs to be more recognizable to people who don't. Maybe they have an Xbox. A lot of families have an Xbox. Like my brother or something like that could have an Xbox, but he wouldn't be aware of Xbox Game Pass, and it's not thrown in their face enough. It's not.
Yeah,
and how do you tap into the casual gamer, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sure they have great minds at Microsoft, that advertising minds that can do this. I just don't understand why they're not, because in the last couple of years where Xbox Game Pass has been going from strength to strength, that hasn't. I'm not seeing it everywhere. I'm not seeing it on bus shelters. We're not seeing it like. I don't know.
It's the one thing that Sony has done in the past. Remember when God of War was coming out? They had the basketball court. The court itself was an advertisement for God of War. They played the actual trailer on the floor of the stadium. And yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with that. Kirk, let's bring you in on the conversation here, and then we'll bring Eddie in. What I mean, do you agree that there may be some sort of a disconnect with trying to bring in the normies?
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, it's just going back to what we've spoken about on our show. Eddie brought up a brilliant point. I can't remember if it's this the week just gone or the week before, about when he was in. Was it a Smith's, Eddie? that you were
It
in?
was game
And,
when I was buying my Xbox.
game
yeah.
in game, and somebody in front of him was in the queue buying a Series S, and the guy behind the counter was saying, "Oh, you for 3 months for free, you can have Game Pass, and it gives you all of this." And the guy was there with his kid, and the guy was basically saying, "Nah, I'm all right, thanks. Don't want it." It's like you can have that for free for 3 months, and there's no obligation to stay with it. And you're like, no, because he didn't understand what it was. And that seems
actually,
to be what...
I actually heard you mention that story on episode 76, which you guys dropped
It
today,
was-
and I was like, you know something? I used to work for GameStop, which is the equivalent of Game in the UK. I said GameStop. I never worked for GameStop. I worked for Funkoland 150 years ago, and we used to get that. We'd have people come in, and parents that just were not aware of it, and even though we were offering, hey, you can get this cartridge, because they had cartridges back then. Again, I'm showing my age. You can get this for an extra $10. No, I don't want anything extra. But the game is normally $50. No, I don't want it. So I see your point.
How do they get across that barrier? That's I think they've really tapped into the gamers that are in the circle, like we are, and the whole Twitter sphere and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, for all intents and purposes, your hardcore gamer, you could say. We all know about it. But your casuals, your mums, your dads, your aunties, your uncles, they don't have a clue. And it's how do they do that? So,
no, very interesting, Eddie. Let's bring you in on the conversation, because the point that they're referring to, the story that you broke down, is brilliant. There's no doubt about it. And I hate to say this, unfortunately, you would think that in an era where streaming services have become the norm. Everyone subscribes to Netflix and Hulu and now Paramount Plus and this service and that service. You would think that there would be a way for the gaming aspect of the services to break through, because, you know, in my era of gaming, it still was considered a kid's toy, where it's no longer considered that, right? It's not a toy for kids. You know, you'd have people coming in and everything would be a Nintendo. Do you have this for the Nintendo? Now, actually, that's for the Sega Genesis. But yes, actually, we do have said cartridge. Here you go. How many times have your mom said, "Stop playing that Nintendo and do your schoolwork," because everything is right? You're laughing because you're old like me, so you understand that you've heard this. Mom, it's not a Nintendo, it's a PlayStation. Get with the times, right? What are your thoughts on this, Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're doing Microsoft a big disservice, because we talked 9 months ago, where we were saying how we thought Game Pass wasn't being marketed at all. And now I think we're all in agreement that Game Pass is doing brilliantly. Like, I see adverts all the time. See it in the cinema. I mentioned the other week, I saw it in the cinema. I see it in between programs. And I remember 9 months ago, me and Ben were talking about how obscure it is and how mind-boggling that is, because we even back then were saying about how amazing Game Pass is and how great for its bang for buck it is. So I still think, don't get me wrong, they're now trying. I think they will try and push on the what do you call them, the normies market?
The normies.
which is great, and I'm going to steal that from now on and say that I created it.
I've now ruined you.
But yeah, no, I think it's something they need to push on with, especially like I hear it all the time from my normie friends that aren't gamers, that they don't really even know what Game Pass is.
Yeah,
and it's one of those that I feel like a bit of a strange person having to explain this amazing service that should be in everyone's minds, but it's not his case.
Well, you know what I think is going to be the breakthrough, right? The one thing that we can all agree on here on today's panel is that everyone has a TV, or at least most. Very, very high 90 percentile of the conversation of the people have A1 TV. Now, maybe they don't have, a C1, right? Maybe they don't have the top, TV that's giving you 120 frames. But they're going to have a TV, and at some point, now we've known that Microsoft could, in fact, be positioning themselves to release like a $100 streaming stick that comes with a controller. This has been talked about on Windows Central, on the Xbox 2 podcast. We've heard Dealer Gaming talk about it with Tim Dog. I've talked about it on the Xbox Factor podcast. So there is again, this is just an opinion. There is a possibility that if this additional hardware is released, and we're hearing that could happen this year, and you can stick a streaming stick into your TV, and there you go, you're playing Xbox. I think that what you're going to see is because, and again, this is a speculative kind of a comment. If I'm Microsoft, I'm dropping a 3-month card in every one of those $99 packages, because what you're going to essentially do is make people fans of Xbox. I get all these games like I do on Netflix. They have all these stuff and all these new games. This is insane. And you're going to bring people, because if you're walking in the store, whether that be Game or whether that be GameStop or Target or Walmart, and you see something that's nice, that's a pretty package and says $99 and it comes with a controller, you're going to be like, that's an impulse buy right there. And impulse buys, potentially, if you give people a 90-day card, you make them become Xbox fans. So I think we could see a transition into more of the casual market coming to Xbox if they were to do that. But of course, that is a big if. We don't know. Again, we have it on good authority that they are working on something that's a streaming stick. And I think that for $99 with a controller and you add your 3 months of Game Pass, that would be one of those things that if you drop, let's say, during the holidays, Microsoft, and I think even the MPD group would consider that to be a console sale, because you're having the ability to, it's hardware. Okay, it's a stick, but it's hardware. And man, talk about really running the gambit. Obviously, we're going to talk about the MPDs from the UK, as a matter of fact, with Microsoft really doing what Sony did to them back last generation. And they have an opportunity to really take a market lead and run away with it, because like I said, everyone, including myself, and I believe you guys as well, looked at that Sony, that new Sony PlayStation Plus and just yawned, because that's really what it is. As much as I give Jim Ryan credit for being a marketing master, I mean, if you remember last generation, he was the focal point as to why in the UK, in the EU, Sony just curb stomped Xbox. It was almost 6-1, maybe even some places 8-1. And that's because Jim Ryan's a really good businessman. Not so much when he comes to telling the truth, but we're not going to get into that, because dancing Jim Ryan, well, we know what he's up to. Let me catch up with the super chats, gentlemen. We're going to move to one of the big topics of the night. And the first one comes to us once again from Drawn TJ. He drops, wow, man, a $20 super chat and says, I say get rid of it altogether and just roll it into Game Pass Ultimate for no charge. People will jump to Ultimate and then get rid of the $10 Game Pass and add the family play tier for $5 a person up to 5. I think that's brilliant. I think that is a smart move. And obviously we did hear from Jez Corden, who has confirmed that, yes, they are moving forward with the family plan. I think that's fantastic. I know you guys were literally just talking about it on episode 76. And again, we'll get where you guys can check out that podcast towards the end of the show. And we have CR Wimpy drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, if this was Anime Boom, would be at again, he meant to say Best Buy, meaning he's the most wholesome and lovable character in the business. Wow, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much. That's an awesome comment. And he drops, wow, an additional $10 super chat and says, have you all heard about the Crystal D is making the new Tomb Raider while they're working on Perfect Dark? Just got here. Yes, as a matter of fact, I have some theories as to that becoming an Xbox exclusive. I'm going to tell you why I think that's going to happen, but we're not talking about that today. Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about that. I'm literally writing the show as before I went to this live show and sneaking in some Elden Ring because, man, why not? But listen, I do want to get to the second topic, and this one is pretty interesting. This comes the way of our good friends over at the VGC Charts with a Z, where they are reporting that Xbox is the best-selling console in the UK in March, where they beat out the Switch, and Sony's PlayStation 5 came in third place, which is not something that Sony is used to. Now, the article was written by William D'Angelo, and again, that's VGCharts.com, and he posted it yesterday. And according to the head of GameIndustry.biz, during a Twitter announcement, he announced that the PlayStation came in third, the Nintendo Switch were second, but number one was the Xbox. And this is what Christopher Dring had to say on Twitter. He says, March looks like it's been another tough month for console stock in the UK, particularly on the PlayStation 5 side. Although it's better than February, Xbox Series S and X is the best-selling console in March, primarily due to the arrival of more X consoles. Now, listen, guys, this is something that we've been going and seeing happening and being spoken about in the last couple of days. Apparently, and we got this from Miles Dompierre, who's talked about this as well, of Windows Central, that Xbox seemed to be putting out a lot of Series X. Now, the S has been readily available. I mean, I could literally go to my GameStop. They have 6 of them right now. And those are flying off the shelves, where PlayStation is still struggling to get those consoles made. And a lot of what again, this is just speculation. Some people are saying that it's the high yield that continues to be a plague to their, they make the console, they try it, the heat breaks it and has to go off and has to be remade. And again, I can't say that for sure. I'm not on the assembly line. We're only going based on what we're talking about. But Pete, listen, the UK has been a tough market for the Xbox and Microsoft. Now, this was not the case during the 360 era. The 360 era reigned supreme in the EU, specifically in the UK. And Jim Ryan comes in. PlayStation 4 tells you how to share games and all this other stuff. And they literally win the war in one, 3-minute commercial.
Yep.
And now we're starting to see a change of the guard in the EU. And look, I mean, I know people are going to be like, well, boom, it's not fair because the PlayStation didn't have enough consoles. Not my problem. That's Sony's problem. And they're losing because of that problem. What are your thoughts on this mild victory for Xbox?
Well, so I mean, the first thing I should point out, it was reported last month that they were ahead in February as well. And in fact, that they were ahead in the EU more generally in February as well. And I mean, obviously, this is all caught up in the context that hardware sales are 30% down year on year, I think, so far, something like that. So clearly, a lot of this is a supply issue, and Xbox are just doing a much better job at getting supply there, and that has been very clear with the S, but it's even becoming clear with the X as well, which is giving them a massive advantage, a huge advantage. So.
Yeah, I think Phil Spencer in January, mentioned, he did an interview with, I think it's New York Times, and he said that the focus for them was ensuring chips. Now, I think what I take from that is that Microsoft are winning the chip war. There are two competing companies here who are going after these chips, and Microsoft are possibly pulling weight a bit. Now, obviously helps that they've got 2 SKUs that are technically different. And obviously that helps because the S is readily available. And I know in Xbox coming number 1, that's going to be influenced by the X being available. But I'd be interested to see what proportion of the sales were made up of S and X of the Xbox sales, because they're doing good things because of the lack of the lesser resources that are needed to bring out an S.
A very good point.
Do not forget that obviously the PS5, the 2 SKUs are identical minus a disk drive, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yes. So
exactly
that obviously plays a big part in this. The Series S, it was reported, I think it was Xbox system architect Andrew Goosen, I think that's how you pronounce his surname. He spoke to Eurogamer a few weeks ago and said that it's actually more cost effective and easier to produce the production for the Series S than it was the Xbox One X.
Indeed. As a matter of fact, to add to your point, Kirk, and if you didn't know this, Microsoft is able to produce 2 Series S consoles versus the 1 Series X console. So it makes sense that they double down on getting the smaller, because look, this is going to be a console generation that we haven't seen happen in a long time. Actually, as a matter of fact, I would dare say we haven't seen this since the Genesis versus the Super Nintendo days, where there were multiple consoles per home, because you wanted to play Sonic, but you loved Mario. And I think that's what you're going to see here. Listen, there are many Sony fans that left during the dark days of the Xbox One. 2013 was a freaking terrible year, and 2014 was worse because the media turned on Microsoft, and you know something, they painted themselves into a corner. Donnie D, not the most wise guy out there banging drums. And then we also heard many of the internal management, were wanted to get Xbox to F out of there, and it was thanks to Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer, i.e. King David, that went to Satya Nadella and said, "Hey, listen, I have a dream. This is what I want to put down. This is what I think." And obviously, Phil saved Xbox. Yeah. Eddie, let's bring you in on the conversation there, brother. This is I would dare say it again, changing of the guard. And competition is great. We love it, because when one fighter gets knocked down, we cheer. But when the other fighter that gets knocked down gets up and gets his own nice shot in there, we cheer just as well. I think this is good for business. I think it makes these companies hungry to stay in the news properly. What are your thoughts on Xbox outpacing even the Switch, who has for months upon months just dominated the MPD charts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an Xbox fanboy, so I think we all know what I think of this. I was cheering massively.
I mean, listen, it's okay. It's my console of choice. That's
well, there you go. Hey, I used to be a PlayStation boy, but I moved over in the Xbox One era. But I'm obviously absolutely loving it. Look, I think it's been pretty obvious for a few years now that they're almost going in different directions of strategy at the moment. Yeah. That's my personal opinion. Like PlayStation going down they always have produced wonderful games and a lot of quality, but Xbox going down this Game Pass route that came out of the woodwork, a few years back. So I don't know. I am loving it, but at the same time, if it goes too far one way, I think Pete always goes on about how he hates Monopoly. And I
don't just mean the board game, although that is included.
Yeah. So I mean, long live Xbox, but hey, I like the competition. I like the back and forth.
Well, it's interesting. One of the things that has surprised me, and I've talked about this on my show, I give Sony an incredible amount of kudos for the way that they have marketed their brand. I mean, they were the masters of marketing, and I mean, even on their low down months, PlayStation was always trending because their first party games, their first party studios are the best in the business. Let's not get that twisted. Microsoft it will deliver that. They did last year. Obviously, they were Publisher of the Year for a good reason, because a lot of their games were very, very high quality first party. This is what we've been asking for. This is what we've been wanting from Microsoft, and they delivered it. They delivered it in spades. Though, I mean, what are your thoughts on? And I'll go right back to Pete on this. What are your thoughts on this win for Xbox? Should they celebrate this?
I mean, a little bit too soon for too much celebration, I'd say. But I think it actually ties into the points we started on with Game Pass and the normies. And I think I'd also, Ben, be interested to see the sales numbers of the S against the X, because I think not only can they produce 2 for everyone, they're a much, much more acceptable price point for general people.
Yeah.
For
$300 for a new console, especially when you say the word next gen. It's and I don't know about and I'll ask you, because I'm obviously not in the UK, but here in America right now, the S is $279.99. and it has been. They quietly dropped $20 off the console. Now I know it's, oh my God, Boom, it's only $20. But when you say 300 and you say 279.99, that the light bulb goes off a little bit. Hey, let's spend it. Let's spend.
No, you can find deals in the UK. Eddie, what was the deal that you got on yours?
Yeah, I got what was it? It was only a couple months after release, and it was one of those that I really wanted a PlayStation, if I'm being totally honest, because I saw the haptic feedback controller, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get one of these.
Yeah.
But I think it was like £450, and then I saw this deal that was trade in your old Xbox, get a Series S for £100, and when I traded in the games, it came to I think £25. Which is like $40.
Amazing.
You know what? You run out of the store and you cover your face just so the camera doesn't see who you are.
Yeah,
Never seen it with a big smile on the face.
I think I told Eddie about that deal. I was like, you have to go in and get an Xbox.
You didn't tell me it didn't have a CD drive on it though, so I'm very upset about that.
But this was the thing. I think mine was around £200, and I think that was only on a minor sale. I think you can regularly find it around $220 here. Which it's that's an easy price point. That is an impulse buy,
100%.
Almost. You know, that's something that, I mean, if your car gets any damage, it's probably more expensive than that. So there are going to be moments where you can go, yep, I can just do that. That's fine. And I think that's such a huge advantage for them. And then when you add in Game Pass, even if they're not marketing it as well as they could be yet, it's such a good offering for people who just want to pick up and play. And think about it. You could have that set up in 2 hours. You could have a couple of games downloaded. You could be playing. Yeah, less if you've got good internet.
The fact that an S and a Switch OLED are like comparable in price. It's you get next gen gaming.
Yeah,
for the
it's
same price
pretty
as
incredible.
OLED.
It's a stark difference, Ben, when you look at. Listen, I love my Switch. I play the Switch every day. I just got Kirby. It's if you like Mario Odyssey, you owe it to yourself to play it. It's amazing. But let's call a spade here. You go out and you buy the OLED, and you're like, this is great. It's handheld. I take it. I put it back in. I'm playing. But you're also playing at 720p. Now, I don't have a problem with that because remember, folks, I'm old. I'm the dinosaur in the room. I played games when there were sticks and dots. So for me, this is, I feel extremely privileged because I have witnessed the birth of video games, the death of video games in 82, the revamp in 85 with the Nintendo Entertainment System or the NES. And now I sit back and I play games like what you see in front of you, Forza Horizon. I'm like, man, this is crazy. I can't believe what I'm doing. But Ben, going back to what you were saying about one versus the other, you spend $249 and you drop, they have deals, Game Pass, 90 days, $1, or, $15 for 3 months. And you go and you say, I got my new Xbox. I had an Xbox back in days. I haven't been here in years. And you go to Game Pass and you're like, this is like freaking Netflix on a digital console. It's incredible. And what I want to do is I want to back end this, and I don't have it in the show notes because it just dawned on me when we were live. Guys, we're talking about the potential this holiday of Xbox being $250 for the S. I think that's what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. I think that it would be madness if you didn't, because you're going to dominate. But just imagine this for a second. Once the deal is done for Activision and Call of Duty is first party and it's in Game Pass day and date, I think Sony is in trouble. I'm going to be honest with you. And I really want you to gnaw on this bone for a hot second. And Pete, I'll go to you first. When that happens, and I really think, I know there's been a lot of talk about, the FTC is, we have these knucklehead senators. I'm so embarrassed for them, asking them, hey, workers, for the workers, listen, you guys are government, man, do the research. The FTC doesn't care about workers. They want to make sure that we, the consumer, aren't getting bent over a barrel. Don't write letters like that and attach your name to this, because you're embarrassing yourself. But let's just, for shits and giggles, say that the deal does go through. And I think it is going to go through. It may take a little bit longer, but I think it's going to go through. Yeah, could you imagine if Microsoft slaps Call of Duty on this box and puts it up there on your Walmarts for $250?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I'd like to point out that I knew the FTC wasn't involved in that side of it, and I'm from
And
the
we're not
UK,
government.
which
Yeah,
tells you a
so
lot. Yeah. So, but moving on from that, yeah, I think it is going to be a really dangerous situation for Sony to have to deal with. We should reveal at this point that our informal nickname for ourselves is Grumpy Game Pass, because we talk about it so positively so often that it's probably actually we should take grumpy off there, because it's the one thing they're not grumpy about.
Grumpy Game Pass.
Yeah, so I mean, our colors are firmly nailed to the wall with that one, but you can see the problems down the line for them. And when we see the offering they've brought out for the new PS Plus and everything else, none of it is really going to compete as well as they'd like it to. So the stronger the offering from Xbox gets, and for people like me, I mean, Bethesda was huge, obviously. That is absolutely massive. Activision Blizzard is massive. It just makes them stronger and stronger in this position. And it's the fact that they seem to have taken a tangent that Sony just didn't think of, which is instead of focusing on hardware, it's all about that online offering. It's all about the subscription. That seems to be what they want to lead with. And I think it's really powerful for them.
Well,
I think we can all admit.
Go on, Eddie. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think we can all agree that people buy consoles for Call of Duty games.
Indeed,
I know
100%. Yeah.
So it's one of those that it's just, I've always said, if you get COD and if you get FIFA, then you've got probably half of the gaming industry all interested in buying that. So to put a cheap console on the shelves with Call of Duty, I think you're going to have all the normies, all the COD fans, all buying that console just for that one game, and that's
tie in your stick as well. The rumored stick, you've covered all bases basically, and you've got the top end of your Series X all the way down to the bottom end of shoving a stick into a TV, and you've got all this entertainment right in front of you.
Well, can you imagine,
Kirk? I want you to elaborate on this, because what this seems like to me, and maybe I'm being facetious here, it seems like Microsoft has circled the wagons, so to speak, and they are covering everybody in their inner circle. You're going to have the hardcore. We're the hardcore. We're here on a podcast on a Wednesday afternoon, for a few Wednesday evening, because we're close to 6 or 7 o'clock by you, but you're going to have your hardcore with your Series X. You're going to have your middle of the tier, right? Your middle of the tier sitting with your Series S. And then, of course, they're going to bring in the casual audience with, hey, this $100 stick gets you these games. If they were to do a mass packaging change where Call of Duty, whatever, is on there, and that's day and date in Game Pass, I got to be honest with you, Kirk, I think Sony is in a pickle, to be honest.
I mean, I think I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but if I remember rightly, wasn't it something like a 60-40 split in players that were playing Call of Duty on PlayStation versus Xbox?
They outboxed the Xbox, so to speak.
There were more players on the PlayStation playing that game. So you take away that franchise, that one single franchise. Well, all those people love COD. They buy it every single year. They don't care if it's 60, 70 pounds. They're just going to buy it because that's what they're used to. It's now over on the Xbox. Oh, I can't get it on the PlayStation anymore. What do? Oh, okay. There's this box here for 200, 250 pounds. There's this stick here for 100 pounds. It's a no-brainer. So, and then then like, what's Sony going to do? I mean, don't get me wrong. Sony have got a fantastic offering on for a lot of people out there, and I will not slam their first party offerings either, because it's fantastic. But
indeed,
this is one of those tipping points, as you mentioned, where things are going to start getting really, really either dicey or very kind of like there's going to be a real grey line coming up. There's going to be a huge shift in the gaming industry, I think.
I Ben, let's bring you in on the conversation. I think what Kirk is putting down, I'm buying, because it's very easy to see. You can read these tea leaves without having green, emerald glasses, and just being pro Xbox. Sony, well, they held the marketing rights, and they still do, for Call of Duty. Well, that is going to end, and when that ends, if you can slap Call of Duty on your Series S, which again, maybe it drops down to $200. Maybe they say $229. They go crazy. Maybe Game or GameStop says, hey, trade in your PlayStation 4 for $100 off, trade in your PlayStation 5 for $200 off, and you're literally walking out the console, walking out with a Series S and potentially a year of Game Pass, and Call of Duty's in there. See, because that's $70 asking. A lot of people, listen, here in the States, right here in New Rochelle, New York, if I go over to my local GameStop, a Sony game is $76.43. That's a lot of money, man, for one game where I can pay $15 a month and go get half a year for almost the same price of Game Pass, which includes day and date.
Yeah, this all come down to marketing, because I think in my mind you've got this massive comparison that Microsoft need to make. So when the new COD comes out and it's on Game Pass and it's also on PlayStation for $70 or £70 in the UK or whatever, they need to have that direct comparison of, yeah, you can walk out the shop today with that game for £70, or for £200 you can have a console and the game and all this stuff, like £70 to $200, like just over double the price.
Yeah,
and then nearly triple the price. But they need to market that comparison, and that's going to be up to them if they can do that effectively, and really sell the console that way. I think it is a no-brainer, because the Series S at the moment with Game Pass, to us who know about it, is a no-brainer. Like if you want to get a PS5 like I have, but I didn't want to get a Series X as well, then you're talking insane money. But I will buy an S. So it's a no-brainer console. I mean, it's a masterclass in terms of buying Activision. The casuals, as we said, so much of the market is made up of the casuals at the moment. Well, and it will continue to be. COD is the game of choice for many. To secure that and put that on Game Pass, sure, keep it going on PlayStation for £70 or $70, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. But it's incredible, and the S is the entry point. If they just had an X, I'd be like, okay. But with the S, that offering is value gone mad.
Yeah, especially look. We don't need to talk about the world being the world. Gasoline or petrol, from where you guys are $5 a gallon here in New Rochelle. It's ridiculous. It cost me $80 to fill up my 6-cylinder Kia Sorento, right? Like so everything is going up. Milk, eggs, cheese, anything. You go to the grocery store, when they have stuff, everything has gone up. Everything that used to be 2 for $5 is now 2 for $7. Right, you don't notice these unless you do the shopping. I take care of the household because unfortunately Mrs. Boom is still working. I'm retired, so I don't want her to have to do anything. So I do the shopping, and it's crazy. Eddie, I want to bring you in on the close out this particular topic before we get into grading what Xbox has done next gen. Everyone has made incredible points, and I think Ben really drove it home with, at some point, there's gonna come a time where Microsoft is the owner of Call of Duty, and there's gonna be a point where 76.43 here in New Rochelle versus, hey, I can get almost 5 months of Xbox Game Pass for the same price, and for $200 or $250, I could walk away with a Series S and get 3 months of Xbox Game Pass for free by just signing up for $1. So you're talking about a console and all of this versus the 76.43 for Call of Duty. I think, and I said this before, and I'll say it again, I think Sony is in trouble, and I think they know they're in trouble.
Absolutely. I mean, as well, I don't want to say what all Call of Duty fans are, but I know a majority of Call of Duty fans play only Call of Duty, and there's nothing against them. That's a lot what casual gamers are. I know many FIFA players who I played with for many, many years who only get a console for FIFA. I don't think they're going to be the type to say, well, I've got PlayStations my whole life, so I'm only going to get a PlayStation. And with this price difference, I think every single person, I mean, even in their right mind, even to be fair, even the hardcores like me would change over to Xbox if I had a PlayStation for this. I mean, even with, I don't know what it's like over in the States, but with if you get a new Xbox, you get, I think it's 6 months free here. When I bought one, I did ask why, and it was because of scalping reasons. It's anti-scalping. It means you have to sign up for it. But yeah, I think we've been waiting for PlayStation to have an answer for this deal for a long time. And what did they buy a few weeks ago, which we were all a bit disappointed with?
Oh, they've bought Bungie, haven't they?
They bought Bungie, which I guess is an answer, but it's not the answer we all wanted.
Right.
Yeah. And I suppose there's one thing I would add, because I've seen a few of the comments back there saying that they don't think Sony are in problem. We're not talking about an existential threat. This isn't the end of Sony.
Right. They're not going out of business.
But it's the fundamental.
No, they're the dominant force.
Yeah, it's the fundamental reimagining of the situation that they've got to deal with.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they saw this coming, and I don't think they've really figured out a way to respond to it in any way.
They're clamoring, aren't they?
Well, the thing is, like, and I said it, I don't know, a couple of months ago, that I know all of this good stuff is happening with Xbox, but it's about tapping into that casual market, because actually Sony need to do absolutely nothing and they'll still probably win. Like, that's if it were a competition like that, which it is for those companies, they'll still win. Unless it's in Microsoft's hands, like how they market things, because a lot of the casuals will just continue to buy PlayStation, and that's fine, and that's and they're within their rights too, and that's great. But there is something fantastic out there which would appeal to a lot of them.
There's one other thing I think we should also bear in mind, which is, if anything, Xbox are enlarging the market. That's the biggest thing they're doing with the $99 or pound stick, potentially, with the cheaper consoles. More people these days are starting to see gaming as a viable option for their entertainment than ever before.
Yes.
And it's suddenly, through Xbox, priced well enough that almost anyone can go, yeah, I'll take it. I'll do that. Let's give it a go. So what they've done is, instead of going, we're going to cap the existing market share and try and get further up in that, they've gone, let's enlarge the market. Let's make this more readily available, more readily accessible.
That's a good point. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and when you increase your market cap, when you bring more viewers into, whether that be a Disney Plus or a Netflix or a Hulu, you have more engagement. More engagement is people are spending money, and specifically, unlike those services, like the film services, you are spending per month, but that's all you're spending. Or in some cases, like Paramount Plus, I got it for $89 for the year. Okay, so I spent $90. There you go. I'm good for the year. Gaming is an entirely different animal, because if you look at, there was a chart that they released regarding PlayStation and where their bread is being buttered. And I know that there's a lot of people in the chat right here. We have over 230 people here. Some might say, well, it's their first party offerings. No, unfortunately, it is not. Over 60% is microtransactions. So their first party, it's a small, I think it was like 13 or 15%. It was very, very tiny. First party, even though it's important for a lot of people, is not why people buy a PlayStation. They buy it for FIFA. They buy it for Call of Duty. They buy it for GTA. They buy it for Madden. They buy it for the occasional MCU crossover with Spider-Man, which is first party, but it's not very often. Wandering Dutch, obviously, is a good friend of mine. He put out, because, the 20 million mark is a conversation that a lot of PlayStation players like to tout. Hey, they have 20 million sellers, which is fantastic. But folks, just to paint a very quick picture before we move on to topic 2, there are only 3 games that hit that mark, and that's it. That's it, folks. God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Spider-Man 2018. Miles Morales is closing in, but that's it. Your Last of Us 2, they stopped reporting after 4.5. We know that Days Gone, 8 million. So it's we've heard Jim Ryan say it. He specifically said, we can't continue down this path because the PlayStation players are not enough. And he's looking at he's reading the room, and I think he's onto something, which is why now they have their service. It's not a service for me because I don't want to play their old games. PlayStation 3 different. They have amazing titles. If MotorStorm was in there, I would subscribe, because MotorStorm was one of my favorite racers of all time. I mean, that was just brilliant on the PlayStation 3. But for the most part, unless you're giving me day and date, I really don't want no part of that conversation. But listen, everyone has completely knocked it out of the park so far. We're at the 60-minute mark. I want to move on to the next topic. But before we do, I got to thank again. Wow. CR Wimpy drops an additional and a very generous $20 super chat and says, I see a lot of people chatting, but not enough people liking and subscribing. Give your love to Boom. He deserves it. Love and live life. Yeah, I appreciate the very, very high praise. Like I said, listen, the super chats are awesome. That's not why we do this. My wife and I are very, very community oriented. We love you guys, and we like putting out the content. I don't know if she'll ever be on camera. Don't hold your breath, because you're gonna drop dead. She is behind the scenes, and she does a lot of work that a lot of people don't know about. But she is an integral part of this channel, and we love doing this. This is why we brought this segment back, and it's all credit to her. She wanted to see this come back because she liked the interaction that I have, and raising people up, podcasts up, content creators up is something that this channel was built on, which is why this will be once a month. But let's move on. Let me just make sure I got no. Okay, Jordan TJ drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "What if they say $250 for the S and $450 for the Series X? If they do that, Sony they're going to have to respond. They're going to have to do some sort of a price drop. And I don't know if they can, because they're literally being clobbered by trying to get these chips in. And right now, as we know, the market is, these chips are expensive.
They'll be scalped as well.
It's funny. We were talking about that just on Primetime Gaming. There was a stat that was out and floating around the interwebs where 25%, I think, no, it wasn't 25, maybe 15% of PlayStation 5s weren't even turned on. And that was due to the scalpers having garages full of these things and selling them for $1,000 and upwards, which is, please don't. It's not that serious. Go buy an S until you can get your PS5. Trust me, you're going to thank me. Do not give these scalpers $1,000 for a PlayStation 5. It's great console, not worth $1,000. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I do want to move on to topic number 2, ladies and gentlemen. And what did I see? The news has been so. Let's just say that. And obviously, I have 4 live shows, so I probably have talked about something. So I wanted to kind of write a new topic for us to get into. And topic number 2 is going to be us talking about grading the Xbox and what they've done and everything. And that includes everything, social media presence, interaction with the executives, which is something they hands down the best in the business. What have they done for first party so far this year? It hasn't been a lot, so they've been filling Game Pass with third party deals and second party deals, constantly giving us more games to play and kind of throwing the back in the backlog. And the way we're going to grade this is what has Xbox done for its gamers since the inception of this generation, and that is we're closing in on this November, would be 2 years of the Xbox Series X and S. And I'll start first with Pete. Pete, when you take a step back and you look at what Microsoft has done, we can say that maybe their launch lineup for the Series X and S wasn't as stout as Sony. That's a fact, right? Yeah. I mean, we're not poking fun, but it is what it is. Halo was supposed to be there. It wasn't. And you know what? We're better for it, because 343 had a year to make Halo what it is. And I get it. There's going to be, well, boom, Halo has got no new stuff. I hear you, and 343 hears you, but you cannot deny that when the game came out last December and then the multiplayer launched in November, you were not like, yo, this was crazy. I'm so happy with this.
Yep.
Right. So
it's no Battlefield, but yeah.
No. Well, obviously, Battlefield, according to some of their executives, Battlefield failed because Halo was so good. Yeah. I'm just saying that's what they said. I didn't say it. Don't kill the messenger. Pete, how would you summarize what Microsoft has done since inception of this year to where we are right now?
I mean, it's a tricky one to measure, because obviously we don't need to explain the situation in the world, but it's the first time we've had to make that a major consideration in a new generation of consoles. So obviously, compared to what we would have expected at the initial launch, it's been pretty light. You know what I mean? They've been unable to get them everywhere. Everyone's been unable to get the consoles everywhere. And even things like Halo Infinite, they had to give themselves a year to get it out.
Yep.
And yeah, you're right. When that did drop, it was huge. We were playing pretty much every night of the week, I think.
Yeah.
We even streamed a couple of times, and that was mostly just a continual view of me dying. Generally on Eddie or Kirk's cam, because they're far better at FPS games than I am. I'm a strategy gamer. I admit it. I'm a strategy gamer. So yeah, I suppose I feel positive about Xbox is where I'd line up with it from this generation onwards. And I think it's because of the moves we're seeing in the background that we've talked about already. But it's also because everything looking forward seems to be positive for them. Yeah. And it seems to be that they're timing it quite well, that even while people can't get the console they want, and even while they're having struggles with some of those games, and they're still having to share the outputs from Bethesda and everything else for obvious reasons, you look into a couple of years in the future, and I sit there with my Series X on the TV stand down there, Series S, sorry, and I go, yeah, I'm in a great place. Like, I'm in a really good place for the content as it comes. That said, in 2022 in particular, I would just like to see some more maps in Halo Infinite, please.
Yeah, it's
just some maps.
Well, I know something leaked that I pulled up. Last Man Standing, or Last Spartan Standing. That leaked. I don't know if you guys got a chance to take a look at it. It's not a topic, but apparently it is. I don't know. Kind of sounds like it said Big Team Battle, Last Spartan Standing, which kind of sounds like you would do in a Fortnite or in a PUBG, and maybe they're not calling it a BT, but it seems that they maybe they're reading the room and people want it. Maybe people want an Apex Legends kind of play, and I think they have to evolve with the time. But yeah, a couple of new maps would be nice, and it is a little disheartening that they're this far into the release of the game and we have not had that. But again, I say yes, we want I'm not giving an excuse for 343. I'm not saying it's okay for them not to have it. I'm saying that right now, if they had the ability to produce it, it would be here. Let's not let them put out a buggy mess.
I remember ages ago when they said, what did they tweet? The only BR in Halo
is the battle rifle. Yeah.
And that really upset me because I hated COD. And Pete, you were with me until Warzone came out, and I have chucked thousands of hours into that. I've always been a PUBG fan. I even play in third person, even though I don't like third person games, but. It really upset me because I like Halo and I thought that kind of game mode would be amazing. And if they do bring that out, then that's another 1,000 hours of my life gone. So
yeah, no, I mean, Eddie, you're onto something with that. It's one of the reasons why Forge not being there kind of hurts because we have so many incredible creators. As a matter of fact, John from the Xbox era, obviously he's out of the UK. He's a professional. He designs them. I believe he's testing it right now. He's one of the few because he does do good work. And I could only imagine that someone in the community would have created a battle royale game for Halo, and we would have probably been all playing it. I still think that as great as it's going to be from a creator or a group of creators once Forge launches, I think, and again, could be a whole half-hour topic another time. I think it's a missed opportunity for 343 to bring in new fans. Like, I'm an old school Halo 3. That's my favorite Halo of all time, and that was taken over by Halo Infinite's multiplayer. I just thought it felt so good. It felt so much like 3 that I couldn't get enough of it. Now, I didn't finish the Battle Pass because, well, Elden Ring has taken over my life, and before that it was something else. But yeah, I'm with you. I think listen, I get it. There are probably a lot of people at 343 that are traditionalists. They want Halo. They don't want their chocolate touching their peanut butter. I hear you, but the game is not being built for you. It's being built for the community. And if the community is asking for a BR, like they're getting in other places. I think you owe it to yourself, and more so the fans, to actually double down on saying, hey, we've heard the cries of the people. Let's bring, we're going to deliver a BR to you. It's one mode. Here you go. But Pete, I mean, Eddie, I do want to bring you in on the conversation. I'm coming to roll reverse here because you jumped in. Where do you grade Microsoft since inception of this generation? Have they done enough for you?
For me, absolutely. I'm an Xbox fanboy. They get an A star every time. Look, I'm totally honest. I'm disappointed with the games. But I remember I was ages ago when I got an Xbox 360 on day one, and I was massively disappointed because the games that came out, I think there was 1 or 2 exclusives, and they were rubbish. And then I didn't see anything for 9 months. And I remember my mum, who I think she got it for me for Christmas, if I'm being totally honest. I remember like 6 months down the line going, "Oh, you don't play that much." So I'm like, well, yeah, because there's no point. But so I'm disappointed on that front. But at the same time, like what they've done with Game Pass, the amount of money I must have saved on Game Pass, not only on PC, but it must be in the hundreds a year. I used to go. I like to cycle through games and find that game that I love playing for a month, and with Game Pass, you can literally jump on and play a different game every single night until you find that perfect game. So I know they've gone down a different route, and I've been disappointed with the exclusives, but with Game Pass, I mean, I don't think anyone who likes Xbox is complaining about that.
Yeah, I mean, their first party offerings. I mean, like I said, last year they had a lot, and the diversity in that lineup was huge. You had a platformer, you had a first person shooter, you had a simulation in the one with the planes. You also obviously had a racer in there that was more arcade racer, which is what you see on the screen. But this is Forza Horizon 4. It's pretty interesting that we are still waiting, but again, I'm in the camp that they've given me enough to know that when they hit their stride, when 2023 happens, because like I said, we don't know. 2022 is a bit of a mystery right now, isn't it? We have theories that Forza Motorsport is coming, right? We have theories that Redfall, which was supposed to come out in the summer, is going to come out in potentially December. They need some more time. I say give them the time. We have theories that we're not going to see any delays with Starfield, and I don't think Starfield moves. I think that they have been so, like, they just dropped a 2 minute and 21 second short yesterday, introducing us to one of the people you're going to have a part of your crew, the robot. Name, backstory, the whole thing. And I think Todd Howard, we're going to be incredibly surprised this June when they show it off, and we're going to see gameplay. Obviously, Deathloop is coming this year. I know a lot of people discount that. Oh, it's on PlayStation, so it doesn't matter. Actually, it does matter because there are a lot of Xbox players that didn't play it, and it's going to be an Xbox Game Pass day and date, and that was a high 90 meta, and also a game that was talked about as Game of the Year. It was nominated for Game of the Year. I think it had 7 or 8 nominations. So that's coming to Xbox. So not a shabby year, but I do hear you. I think a lot of fans are asking when we're getting Fable, when we're getting Hellblade, when are we getting Avowed, when are we getting the Compulsion game that's supposed to be a horror game set in a fantasy world that's like BioShock meets Uncharted. When are we going to get these? And I think a lot of those answers are going to come at their show whenever it is. I think we're all assuming that it's going to be in June. Jeff Grubb, who's a friend of this program, said that he believes that it's going to be in June, and it's going to probably be mid-June, which makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, Eddie, I absolutely hear you that you want what Sony has on Xbox. Everybody does. Everybody wants those over-the-shoulder, story-driven, real-life graphics. And yesterday we saw what Coalition has been working on with Unreal Engine 5 was called The Cavern. If you missed that, definitely get over to the Xbox channel and check it out. It's, I don't know, the short is maybe, 2 minutes. But man, if that was a game I'm buying, I'm all in on that game. for sure. But Ben, let's get your grade and your opinion of what Microsoft has done up until this point. Have they, for you, done everything they need to do, or are they falling short in some areas?
Look, I think it's a relative thing. You got to look at this relatively. Now, I've got all the consoles, and if I'm brutally honest, my favorite console is the Switch. I like handheld gaming is always my preference. Then the other the console that I've been playing the most since this gen's kind of started has actually been the PlayStation 5. But the positivity around Xbox outweighs the positivity around PlayStation. Now, PlayStation have had some absolutely awesome games that have come out. The exclusives they've had, even down to the last quarter that we've just seen, like with Horizon Forbidden West, with Gran Turismo, Sifu, Ghostwire. Like I've bought them all, I've played them all. It's amazing. It's wall to wall. But now we're going into that little bit of lull period before God of War, and so now the Xbox will come more to the fore. And I definitely do go through periods of playing one then the other, but the thing that always pulls me back to Xbox is Game Pass. And always, I mean, even last week we had Weird West being released. It's just there's always something, and what they're doing with that, and we know that that's their focus. You've got to salute them for that, and they're progressing it again and again. Marketing. The one thing that I would say is that I think for their marketing, they need to take an approach more like Nintendo do with their directs, more like Sony do with the State of Plays. I think they really need to forget the long shows, especially for the indie showcases. I think they need to make it more concise.
Nobody wants a 4-hour Twitch stream. I tried doing that, and I was tapping out at hour 2. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's horrible. I watched it all, and I said during it to my girlfriend, I was like, "Who's watching this?" She's like, "We are."
Honestly, the thing with that as well was I watched most of it. I then watched the 20-minute summary, and then I watched the 2-minute summary. And most of the stuff I remembered came from the 2-minute summary.
Wow.
Absolutely,
that tells you a lot.
That's saying something.
It was just nonsense. Then they're not good at it, and I think they need to. So I think if they tightened up some of this other stuff, we're going to have the exclusives come, and that's the positive thing. We have Starfield, we have things like that coming. The Halo. They got Halo out, and it was an amazing 100 hours, and I got 100 hours of gameplay out of that, and so that obviously is a fantastic. To get 100 hours out of anything is amazing. So then to be complaining about it is another thing. But I am one of the complainers as well, saying I need more.
But you have every right to do. You have every right to complain, and I say that with confidence because anytime you put 100 human hours into a thing, whatever that is. That means that you appreciate and you are enjoying it. And once you've crossed a certain threshold, they have to deliver. We can't make excuses. Oh, it's tough. Development is tough. Go hang out in your sleep pod for 2 hours. No,
yeah.
I understand crunch. I know that Microsoft is against crunch, and I applaud them for it. But at the same time, if your current dev team can't keep up with it, you got to do one of two things. You either got to say, hey, listen, guys, we really kind of need to tighten this up, or you need to hire more people to get the job done. I don't think anybody here or anybody in the chat wants to make excuses, or more importantly, hear excuses why we don't have new content.
But it's a problem because I think on Steam the concurrent player count is between 5,000 and 10,000 now, and I know most players are on Xbox, but it's dropped down from that 250,000 down to this, and once players leave,
hard to bring them back, brother.
Exactly. Yeah. And like myself, I put 100 hours in. I put over 100 hours in, and I would play again, obviously. But you're not going in with the same enthusiasm. Like we were playing it every single night, weren't we, guys? Like we played every single night. Yeah. It was an insane time, and for that, I think Xbox have done fantastically. I love the direction they're on. They get a good grade from me. It's probably a B- set to go to the stars. I think they're in a great position to move forward.
Yeah, no, great point. Real quick, Kay Asante, good friend and voice of the Gaming Circle podcast, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday mornings, drops a $5 super chat and says, salute to Mr. BoomStick for continuing to showcase interesting new content creators. Thank you for that. He says 211 active views right now. Hit the like and subscribe button, people. Indeed, I definitely appreciate that. And Kirk, let's get your opinion on this. Obviously, this has been an incredible show. You've heard everyone's opinion, but I want to know yours. Where does Microsoft sit in for you personally, since the inception of this generation, which started back in November of 2020?
Well, I acquired the Series X on launch, so I've been in bed with it since then. And in all honesty, I mean, it's a weird way for me to put it. Sorry, Eddie. I heard that snigger. I heard it. But we've had a lovely relationship.
He means it literally. That's the thing. Yeah.
I cradle it. But it's been honestly fantastic. It's so like the rest of the world when we were in a lockdown. I mean, we couldn't go out or anything, and that. Yeah. I mean, I know other Xboxes or consoles could do the same thing, but that thing literally opened a door for me to play in Rocket League on various nights with my mates and get drunk and do things that we couldn't do normally out in person. And that kind of accessibility was just something that I really appreciated. Then couple that with Game Pass, me having access to games that I may have seen before but never played them because I couldn't be bothered to spend 30-40 quid. Knowing that there's going to be new games coming out, like your Halos and Forzas and Gears and all that. Just this whole multitude of stuff available at my fingertips for not a lot of money. And then factor in how they've been on social media, and they sound like they come across with like the buddy voice, like they're your pal. They want to know what you like. I mean, I even had an interaction.
Nobody in the business, and I just want to add to your point. Nobody in the gaming business, and I honestly mean this from my heart, no one is comparable to Microsoft. Phil Spencer, that guy is making potentially 7 figures a year, but still finds a way to say, hey, jump in my party and play Xbox Live with me. Sarah Bond, who is an amazing executive. She's following me now on Twitter. She has 30 million followers and 247 people she's following. I'm one of those people. Only because of the positivity that I put out there, which is just it's bonkers that happens. But no, Jason Ronald answers me in a DM. That guy made the Series X, and that guy is talking with me. No one does that but Microsoft.
Honestly, it is that whole like kind of pal friend culture that they, and like just that all inclusiveness that they do, and the fact that they find the time to speak to their fans and other creators on platforms and stuff is just insane. And I mean, we applaud Phil Spencer on our show as well, because he's turned the Xbox brand around. Just like, well, it hasn't been a snap of a finger, but it, when you look back at it, it looks like it has. And if I was to grade what they've done, I can't fault it. Like, there's more to come at the end of the day, and I'm just happy that we're part of it.
Yeah. Not only do we laud Phil Spencer, by the way. What's that? Not only do we laud Phil Spencer, we occasionally refer to him as Daddy Phil. Daddy Phil. Quite often,
I've heard him represented as Phil Spender. It's a good
nice.
We've seen the memes.
Yeah, and he comes off like a bit of a Godfather type figure in all of this stuff, and that's a fantastic place to put yourself. So
he doesn't come across as like slimy or your typical suit. Like he it seems like he gets it, which is what we really see that. So
no, he's a gamer. He's one of us, gentlemen. There's no doubt about it. And I got to correct myself. Sarah Bond, 30,000 followers, not 30 million. I misquoted myself. I want to make sure I get it right. But yeah, she's following me still, which is pretty incredible, to be honest.
Very much incredible. Yeah.
Look, guys, this has been, I can't believe the 90 minutes is over. I felt like we literally just started the show. But we're here for you guys. That's what we do on these community spotlight bits. And I don't care who takes the lead, but I definitely want you guys to sell your brand. I want you to tell everyone where they can check out this incredible group of men who talk about video games weekly, where they can find it, how they can find it, and where can they reach out to you on social media to potentially strike up a conversation. So by means, go crazy. Let us know where we can check out the Grumpy Gamers podcast each and every week.
Shall I go? I think
that's your role.
I'm the socials guy at the end, right? our show is weekly. It comes out every Wednesday. It's a podcast, so Spotify, Google, Apple, anywhere you get your podcast, any app. Grumpy Gamers. It's quite argumentative, I'd say, informative, but ultimately we're a bunch of mates just talking about video games and having fun. So we go through news, we go through reviews, what's coming out the next week, and we have a feature every week which we try to vary up and do different things. So try to keep it fresh and interesting. We also have a YouTube channel which is Grumpy Gamers Podcast, and we have Twitter which is at Grumpy Gamers Pod, where you can speak directly to Kirk because he's our Twitter guy.
Okay.
We are all technically on Twitter. I am the only one who does.
Don't start.
I am the only one who does absolutely nothing. I do have an account. I occasionally look at it.
That's it. Branded one sorted. Okay, you're on live. You're on live. Get it sorted.
So Pete, what you're saying is you don't have the blue check mark. I got to get you out of here. I'm sorry. It's outrageous. It's outrageous.
That is fair. It's entirely fair, to be honest. But yeah, I am the only one who's not on Twitter. So while you'll mostly talk to Kirk, you can also occasionally find Ben or even a Wild Eddie there.
It's funny because social media it can be a landmine field for sure. But one of the things that I've learned, thanks to Wilmy Hood, who's a huge friend of this show and personal friend of mine, he says don't be afraid to use the block and mute button, which is I do. The minute I start hearing anyone that starts saying bots and ponies and stuff, I mute you. Because I think it's derogatory. You can love your console, but you don't have to degrade anybody, and we don't do that here on this program. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the first episode of Double Barrel Gaming Presents Community Spotlight, and of course, these are the Grumpy Gamers from their podcast. We definitely have a couple of people, good friends of the show, all the way from Hawaii. Project X Talk says this: I dropped them a sub and a follow. Want to support fellow podcasters in the community. So there you go. There's your first sub, and I'm sure many others have subbed. And we look forward to. Listen, folks, I'm going to add episode 76 of their podcast, which I listened to today, to the show notes once this goes video on demand. So you guys can just one click and you're there, and you can sub them on Spotify. You can sub them on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and all of your favorite RSS feeds. I want to thank all the super chats that have come in. I do greatly appreciate it. Because of those generous donations, my wife and I are able to do giveaways. We do have a big one coming the weekend of Easter. That Breakfast with Boom, we're giving away $300 worth of gift cards, 4 $50 gift cards, and 4 $25 gift cards. And guess what? All you got to do is be in the chat when we're live, and we'll let the picker pick its winners. Your choice: Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, wherever you want your gift card, we will provide that to you for the price of, free, and you'll get that digitally delivered. And of course, I'm going to close out the show, folks, with something that is important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dear old dad taught us when we were kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next month on the newest episode of Double Barrel Gaming Presents.